This is Monday Motorsport with Lester Forbes on Motorsport Radio.
Welcome to Monday Motorsport on a Tuesday. This is Motorsport Radio. I'm Lester, and we are at Alton Park for the first round of the BRDC British F3 Championship and the GT Championship as well. We'll, over the next couple of hours, tell you what happened and how it happened and how it might end, something we don't yet know. We are talking at the end of the rather damp and wet event, and we'll catch up with Dan Marr down on the grid later to find out what he's up to and to find out who's on pole for race one of 2-hour races in GT. Connor Jackson, the Motorsport Radio website senior editor, joins us. So, starting off with the British GT Championship, Dan Marr's on the grid.
Welcome to Alton Park for the first round of the 2018 British GT Championship. We have 2 fantastic hours of racing today with 2 one-hour races. The weather conditions a bit more difficult than we expected over the last few days, and we'll go through the grid order for the first race today in just a few moments' time. But we had some really revealing conversations, including this one with Flick Haig, who made history as the first ever female to set overall pole position with the number 75 Optimum Aston Martin. Here's what she had to say after qualifying. Flick Haig, history in the making, the first ever female to sit on top on pole position overall in a British GT session. Pole for race one, a bit chilly. How are you feeling?
Confident. I mean, race one on Monday is meant to be really wet, so our aim was to be as near to the front as possible, but to take poles, an added bonus really, so really happy.
The Aston Martin quite confident, very good in the wet, so hopefully a good result so far.
Yeah, it's a balanced car in the wet. We've done a lot of wet testing, so fingers crossed we're prepared for whatever Monday throws at us.
But a massive 35 car grid, very strong entries in GT3 and GT4. It's not quite as easy as pole now though, is it?
No, the hard work will start on Monday, so fingers crossed.
Congratulations, well done.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
So, Flick Haig there on pole position for the first round of the 2018 British GT Championship here from Alton Park. We also managed to get a quick word with Lee Mole, the ERC Sport entry for this year, a new team, and Jelmer Berman alongside him. They qualified in 9th for this opening encounter, but it's a very insightful chat as to what he thinks will happen both here and over the course of the year. Lee Mole, faster than Jelmer Berman through Old Hall Corner here at Alton Park. I think that's something you've come out of the driver's briefing quite happy about, actually.
Well, I was quicker than him going into it, but I never made it out. So we've got quite a bit of damage to the back of the car. So seems to be my my Achilles heel is Alton Park. I crashed here in qualifying last year. I had contact last year with another driver, and I did this one all by myself, which was a bit of a pain. So carried good speed in, but just got a little my rear left on the grass, and ended up in the barrier on the other side. So not the best way to try and get a lap in quali.
However, the 116 entry, the ERC Sport with Jelmer Berman, a fantastic driver in the Blancpain series, really competitive for you guys. I know you might have struggled a bit last year with the Mercedes at certain circuits. What's changed in yourself, in your driving? Is it just a change of teammate, or is it just a new team to give a little bit better direction?
The Mercedes, we've had a year with the car now, so that helps the team. So the team have got the car in a great place. The trouble that we have on a circuit especially like this is it's so cold, and the Mercedes is so good on its tyres. So for us to try and get a tyre temperature over 2 or 3 laps is phenomenally difficult. So we need we need the temperatures to be warmer here for us to have a proper chance. So for Jelmer to finish where he did and kind of get in amongst the Astons was a fantastic performance, because we need, this isn't an ideal circuit for our car, and when, as I say, it takes us a while to get the tyres in. Once they're in, the car's great, and we can do a decent job over so places like Silverstone, where we've got a 3-hour race. The car is really really good on its tyres, so will be great. But trying to turn them on for quali, especially when the temperature's like it is now, is a nightmare. So very difficult.
And Easter Monday, unfortunately, predicted to be even worse. So that might be.
Well, that's good. I mean, if it's wet, fantastic. That will give us a fighting chance. The car's good in the wet. And it's a big level. If it's cold like this and we've got to sit on the grid for 10 minutes before the start of the race, we're going to have no temperature in the tyres, and the first few laps for me and for Yelmer are going to be challenging, because as I say, it's so good on its tyres. It's just hard to get temperature into it. So.
And I suppose the large 6.2 litre V8 in this, as opposed to the 4 litre twin turbo on the Vocar variant of the AMG GT, must help, especially at circuits like this where it's so tight and twisty. You need that instant torque to really get out of the corners.
You do, but the GT4 cars now are really quick. You look at the McLaren, the Mercedes in a straight line, they're quick cars. And if we come up to a GT4 car, on Monday, in a corner, and you can't get past in that particular corner, the exit speeds that those guys carry is great, and it's hard to get past them unless you've got a slippery car as well. So in free practice it was interesting, because you had to change what you do. So for me, I kind of back off earlier into a corner so I can carry speed through the corner, use the aero and the benefit of the car, because the exit speeds of the McLaren GT4 cars are quick. That's where their BOP, they get a lap time, and a lot of it is to make the cars AM friendly. It's down the straights where it's, so they're quick through the straights, they're slow around the corners. So that, on Monday, managing traffic and dealing with the traffic is going to be hugely critical. So it's important to be at the pointy end. So people like Flick Hager's done a great job getting her car there, because that's half the battle around here, because it is so difficult to overtake. But with the GT4 cars, how many safety cars are there going to be on Monday? And if the weather's challenging as well, you can. I think I got up to 5th before I had an issue here last year in the wet. So, anything's possible around here, but it's a difficult track to overtake, and these cars are now so big. So.
And I've heard it's a point that's been raised a few times, especially with the recent announcement of a 35 car grid. It's a bumper grid for British GT, but in GT3 especially, the entry may be stronger at the start now like it was last year, but especially with all the Aston Martin factory drivers coming in, and the quality of both the AMs like yourself and the pros getting even higher in these kinds of cars. Do you think it's sustainable for British GT? And as an AM, does that attract you to the series for the quality of drivers? Does it make you think, well, even I've got a Yelmer Berman in my car, it's a bit more difficult maybe for me to be truly competitive because of the way the factory seems to be throwing themselves in? Yeah,
I mean, this is customer racing at the end of the day, or it should be. So when you have factories putting a lot of support in, that's not, a privateer team and driver, that's kind of that level of support is not sustainable. We can't kind of do that. But in terms of answering your question, in terms of why do I, I'm not a trophy hunter. I want to kind of see where I am in the food chain, and you have to put yourself against the best, because that's you will get better. And I don't think there's the pro grid is just phenomenal, and the AM grid is really strong. The quality of drivers throughout is significant. A lot of experience, a lot of ex British GT champions or champions elsewhere. So really strong grid, and you kind of you see where you are, and you're racing against some really talented drivers. And for me as an AM, to actually see how far off you are of the factory boys, and one of those guys, Phil, today, it's probably as good as anyone's going to do round here, and you can then kind of benchmark yourself against people like that. So I think the 36 cars, and it would be great if there were more GT3s, GT4s. Round here it's hard work, the track is so tight, and they're expensive cars, and we kind of it's a 1 hour race, so that it's there will be there will be incidents on Monday, you know, and that's, you know, unfortunate, but that's just, you know, a 1 hour race around a circuit like this. You know, the circuit's the same size as it was, you know, when it was originally built, I guess, you know, but the cars today are significantly bigger, and you know, you struggle to get two of these cars side by side on certain sections of this track, really. So it's, maybe if it was part way through the season, it would be a little less fraught on. But you know, it's the first race of the year. Everyone wants to do well, and you know, you're at Alton Park, which is a bit of a challenge.
And just finally, last year you mentioned Phil Keane. Yeah, you and him had a few adventures on the continent in Le Mans Cup. I won't quote what you were telling me off camera, but it was relatively positive. Let's leave it like that. But are you going to be going back to Le Mans Cup? Are you looking at International GT Open? You're shaking your head there. You don't seem too happy with them.
No, I mean, Le Mans Cup the circuits are fantastic, you know, so, you know, the weather is great, and, you know, when you're sitting here in 4 degrees and the rain and stuff, you do kind of question, you know, why am I in Paul Ricard, but there's just too few GT3 cars, so this year I think there's 6 again, so the championship is fantastically run. The circuits are the circuits you want to race on, you know, Paul Ricard, Monza, Le Mans, Red Bull Ring, you know, etc. Just fantastic. The only issue is there's not enough decent quality GT3 cars to race against. You end up racing against you know, P3 cars. So that's the only negative with it, is there's just not enough cars on the grid to race against at GT3 level, but the rest of it is fantastic. And as I say, this to come here when it's cold and stuff, you do kind of sit there and, you know, question your sanity, really.
But how would you change that then? Because the championship and the Le Mans Cup, which is, as you mentioned, LMP3 cars and GT3 cars, a bit like the European Le Mans series a few years ago, you're the target audience for that kind of entry. How? And
you know, last year I did it last year, and genuinely, you know, the first, it was, what was it, 2016 was the first year. They had 10 GT3 cars, and that was a total grid. So second year I expected it to grow, and the initial signs were positive that they were getting, you know, a lot more entries. P3 then came along, obviously, and what you've seen is a load of people that would have probably gone into GT3 have jumped into a P3 car. So as a consequence, their grid has grown, you know, and there are, you know, I think there were 26, 27 cars on the grid, but there were only 6 GT3s. There were 21 P3 cars. So, you know, it's a bit like the success of GT4. Part of it, you know, 5 years ago, it was a Ginetta and an Aston Martin were about the only 2 GT4 cars about, and there were 6 cars on the grid, you know. Audi, McLaren, Mercedes, they've all got GT4 cars now. So as a consequence, you've got gents, drivers like me sitting there going, you know, do I really want to spend this amount of money going racing in a GT3 car when actually the grid looks great, and, you know, half the cost of the car, then you buy yourself a GT4 car. There's far greater choice, and so people move. So the reason why GT3 probably doesn't have as many drivers now is because GT4, the success of GT4 and the cars that have come along, and you've had people that would have perhaps thought about doing GT3 have jumped into a GT4 car instead.
Are you in that boat then? I mean, once we find the Mercedes sticker, are you going to part-ex it for a GT4 version?
Well, the team's got 2 GT4 cars, so we've got a second one that's arriving next week, I think. So that's available for drivers, be it me or anyone really. Just need to talk to Keith. And then we're looking to do, or Keith's looking to do sort of the Creventec series endurance racing 24-hour stuff in that. You know, costs of running these cars is significant, and yes, clearly that does play on your mind to a degree, just in terms of, you know, how much of your children's inheritance you're kind of blowing going racing. But I've still got stuff I want to do, yeah, and, you know, I want to still be doing GT3 at the moment, but, you know, further down the line, absolutely, I'll go into something that's slightly more reasonably priced in terms of, you know, GT4 racing to go and have some fun. And I'd never do a 24-hour race. Never say never, but I wouldn't do a GT. It's in a GT3 car now. You know, it's phenomenally expensive to do one race, but GT4 with 3 other like-minded people, great fun, and a, you know, good, fantastic way to go racing. So I think it's kind of got its place. Not for me at the moment, but maybe further down the line it will be.
It's been a very insightful chat from you, Lee. Thank you very much.
Take care. Cheers.
Last year's champion Rick Parfitt Jr. returns to the series for 2018, carrying the fabled number 1. But Seb Morris off to Blancpain, so a new teammate and GT4 champion alongside Rick, Ryan Ratcliffe, comes to play in the Bentley, and the conditions are fair to say don't really suit her.
No, I don't think it's really played into our hands, to be honest. But you know, it's the same for everyone, and we got to do what we got to do. I think if you can get a good start, stay out of trouble, and try and make the car as wide as possible. But we'll see what happens when it comes to the pit stops. But you know, I'm pretty confident we can get a good result.
And you have worked with Rick before, especially in the GT4 championship winning years. So I suppose it's this year maybe more getting reaccustomed to each other as opposed to a complete title challenge, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, we've always got on great. Like you say, it's we're now starting to realise what it was like working with each other, and we have a really good relationship. I don't ever think we thought we were going to win the championship coming into it this year. It's a 2-year plan, maybe 3-year plan. We're just going to take every race that comes, to be honest. The aim is to finish every race and just score points.
And how are you feeling with your challenge, especially with the pro drivers being so much stronger this season? How are you feeling the pressure a bit more?
To be honest, benchmarking yourself against these guys is really good, because you're up against the best in the world, and if you can get near them, you're doing a good job. So, but you know, you look at the front of the grid. You got Phil, who put it on pole for the pro race, and you know, he's been doing this championship for the last 6 years, and Johnny Adams has been doing it for the last 3-4 years. So, you know, I think the boys up the pointy end are still the guys that have been here for a long time. It's just the rest of the field is filled with factory drivers now, so it just makes, you know, getting through it a bit tougher. But you know, we're all here to do the same job, and if it was easy, everyone would do it. So we'll try our best.
Ryan, best of luck for the race.
Thank you.
So that is our front row as the pole position car, Flick Haig, brings it onto the grid in the very lovely liveried car for 2018. And we've got a capacity 36 car entry for the 2018 season, with 35 here this weekend. Good entry in GT3 and a fantastic entry in GT4 with 9 different marks being represented. We're currently at the top of the grid. This is GT3, very, very busy. The weather not putting off many of the team members who still have to come and do their job as they would be expected. The second row, therefore, will be the number 7 Team Parker Racing Bentley alongside the 17, the TF Sport Aston Martin. Will continue to walk down. Beach Dean also return to the championship for 2018, but Andrew Howard co-driven with Darren Turner instead of Johnny Adam. A bit of a strange one for the British GT Championship, but not for that pairing they run in the European Le Mans Series and at Le Mans last year. So very, very competitive. A little bit further back behind the grid as we see the chrome livery now on the Beach Dean car. Fantastic, really does shine, and you'll see on some of the pictures on motorsport.radio from Matt Action and a few from myself as well how wonderful it looks. A bit further down the grid, and the 33 and the 69, 2 of the 3 Barwell Lamborghinis. We'll get a quick word, a quick chat if we can. Patrick, you looking forward to the first race of the year?
Yes, of course, we are all very excited, so fingers crossed everything goes well. And yeah, it's going to be a tough race, starting where we start from. But I think with these weather conditions, just, you know, stay on track. That will be the main thing. And then we'll see what the rest do.
The conditions with the Lamborghini, the circuit, it just seems to click a little bit for your teammates. Are you feeling confident for the race?
Yes, of course. I think our car, especially in the rain, works very well. So me and my driver, Leo, we feel very confident under the rain. So hopefully everything goes well. We have a clean start, and yeah, we'll see. And
a British GT, a bit of a different challenge for yourself this year.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you said, it's a new challenge, but I like challenges, and of course the main goal is to win it, and we'll try our best to win it with the Lambo, and yeah, we'll see.
Well, best of luck, good luck, and we will wait for the rest of the grid then. And as we get ready then for the start of the 2018 season, we're up here at the top of the GT3 field, but we're bringing you all of the action in GT3 and in GT4 straight after this.
Hi, I'm Callan O'Keefe, and this is Motorsport Radio.
I'm a very small man. This is a very large chair. I have a logo, I have a name. My name is Dan.
This is Monday Motorsport with Lester Forbes on Motorsport Radio.
We'll catch up with Dan Marr back with the British GT Championship a little later in the show, where he'll tell us about odd stuff that goes on, or not, in race number 2. Race 1 podium, and I can reveal that it was a first ever victory on outright pace for a female driver in British GT. Flick Haig speaking to Dan Marr.
History on Saturday, history on Monday. Well done, the first overall female winner in British GT history. How does it feel?
Pretty amazing. I'm a bit shocked, I think, but yeah, really good day so far. See what happens this afternoon.
After a great pole lap from yourself on Saturday, the start was very tricky, and Johnny had an even trickier fight on his hands with Phil Keane.
Yeah, when Johnny got in, he had a fight on his hands. You know, I was fortunate enough to get a bit of a lead early on, but yeah, no, he had the hard job really.
And just making sure you maintain that lead, that was a very difficult thing in itself.
It's a balancing act, you know. When you're at the front, you need to push, but at the same time, you need to make sure you're not making any silly mistakes to lose too much time. So,
predictions for race 2?
No idea. You never know in motorsport, but Johnny starts P2, and fingers crossed we get another strong result.
Congratulations, well done, Fleck.
Thank you very much.
And as well, her teammate Johnny Adam.
Very good battle with yourself and Phil Keane. It got a bit tight though at times.
Yeah, through traffic, obviously the GT4 guys do a great job, but you're trying to get past them as quickly as possible. And I just saw in the mirror that he had sort of a issue coming out of Druids, and then he peeled off coming at the last corner, which helped us ultimately win that race. But yeah, car was great. Team have done a great job. Flick drove a mega first stint, made my life a little bit easier being up the front. But yeah, we'll see how race 2 pans out now.
And you mentioned traffic. How difficult was it out there?
It's difficult because with this sort of light rain, your screen gets muddy all the time, so it's hard. You can't even clear the mud off the screen, so it's more visibility than anything else. But everyone's in the same boat out there.
Starting P2 in the second race, do you think you can get another one?
Yeah, we'll see what the weather's like later on. It's due to potentially be heavier rain, but the Lamborghini is very fast, and obviously they're on pole in the wet conditions. And but yeah, we just want to bag points. That's a great start to our championship with a win there, and if we can obviously be in the top 4 or 5 next race, we'll be happy.
Congratulations, well done.
Thank you.
Congratulations, first win in the first round of the series. How does it feel?
Oh, it's great. We managed the same last year, which here the season opener, so it's best possible way to start, and we thought no chance of repeating that, but there we go, we've done it again.
Fingers crossed the title tilt goes a bit better than last year though.
Yeah, I mean, we had a lot of mechanical issues last year, so hopefully the car's had another year of development, and actually so far so good, so fingers crossed we stay out of trouble.
Conditions have been very tricky over the course of the day, and now it started snowing, so it's only going to get worse. How did that affect your race? How did it affect everyone around you?
Well, I mean, I quite like it in the wet. I sort of had a bit of experience in it, and I quite enjoy it. So the trick was staying out of trouble at the very beginning, getting past a couple of cars that I really wanted to quite early, and then just getting on some of the faster guys and trying to stay with them or even reel them in, and that seemed to work.
And how did you find the traffic from the 35 strong grid? Actually,
it wasn't quite as bad as I thought it was going to be. It sort of ran relatively smoothly. The threes went past without incident. So no, there was more clear laps than I thought, other than windscreen, which was so filthy I couldn't see out of it by the end of the stint.
And finally, predictions for race 2.
Don't know. It's going to be tough because we've got pit stop penalties, but yeah, we're going to try and win again.
Best of luck. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Difficult race for you there, but you managed to get a good result out of it.
No, definitely. First race in British GT, first race in the McLaren GT4. Difficult conditions, but I mean, Adam did a great opening stint. Managed to stay where we needed to be, really, in terms of the pit window for the silver drivers. Had a very nice, clean pit stop, thanks to everyone at Track Club, and then just got out there, just cracked on. It was my first time round out on park in the wet, so it wasn't easy, but managed to, I mean, the McLaren was performing incredibly well. McLaren GT4 is such a good car, just enabled me to push on and overtake the cars when they came out the pits, so couldn't have gone any better.
So you mentioned silver. How does that affect you as a driver pairing, as a car?
So the silver drivers are 2 silver rated drivers. they have a longer pit stop window because obviously I'm in Pro-Am with Adam, so he's classed as a gent driver, slower than those guys. I mean, all the Silvers are sort of nipping on my heels, really. They're all very good, young, quick kids, so we had a 12-second advantage in a pit stop. But, you know, I think it would have been possible to have a good result without that advantage, you know, because the pace was very good. But, yeah, you know, that definitely helped us and did a lot of the hard work for me.
And looking forward to race 2. How is the traffic and what do you think the weather will do?
I mean, I'm hoping it'll stay wet after that performance. I think there's a chance of it drying up. I mean, it was getting pretty greasy out there then, so it won't be long until it's dry, I don't think. But yeah, feeling confident. We're starting from 6th and we started from 10th then, so there's no reason why we can't push forward.
Well, congratulations, best of luck, and hopefully another good race for you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Fantastic results for the first ever female winner of a British GT Championship race, and we'll catch up with Dan Marr later on to find out more about what happened in race number 2. My name is Lester. This is Monday Motorsport on a Tuesday on Motorsport Radio, and we have Connor Jackson, our senior website editor, here with us to discuss what happened in the first 2 races in BRDC British F3, including there may be some bragging as well on my behalf, because I will get to that anyway. So the weekend started with a pole position for new Carlin driver Clement Novalak, and this is what he had to say to me after pole position. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you very much. It was a decent lap and I'm pretty pleased with that.
So, yes, you are new to the championship, and welcome to British F3, and yeah, talk us through then. Who are you? Where did you come from? What have you been doing before now?
So I've got a bit of a weird background, let's say, because I'm originally French, but I've lived in Switzerland all my life and came to the UK about 4 years ago. And before obviously racing in cars, I was driving in karts, and yeah, moved into cars this year, and it's proved to be a decent start.
And why British Formula 3? Why now?
I think it was a good double program to go with the Formula Renault that I'm doing on the side as well.
So yes, what can we expect from you? I know you've had only a certain amount of testing, and like you say, have you ever raced here at Alton Park? I know you've probably done testing, I'm imagining. Or?
No, never tested before, never raced before. It was a bit of a whole new thing, a whole new track for me when I came here only 2 days ago, but developed fairly well, and I think that, you know, we're in for a good show this afternoon. As long as I get a good start and can lead after the first lap, I think it should be a good race.
As you know, Carlin are always the team to beat, or thereabouts, in British F3 or in any championship that they're competing in. Particularly this season, there was a lot of talk about your attendance in it, which has now been confirmed. But you have more very talented teammates than any other team as well. As anybody who's listening to this don't know, that Carlin have, I suppose, a special dispensation to run 4 cars in Formula 3. So you've got added pressure.
Yeah, I do. I mean, my teammates have been really pushing me. At least, obviously, this weekend, Nikolai's been really quick, and Billy's just been, you know, just a couple tenths behind, which is, I think, honestly, such an achievement for such a young guy. You know, he had trouble last year, obviously, with his accident, but to bounce back the way he's done is simply incredible. And so, yeah, my teammates are pushing me. I've got a little bit of extra pressure from them, but I take that as a positive to hopefully help me develop as a driver myself.
Clement Novalak talking to me after his first ever pole position in BRDC British F3. Linus Lundqvist, you may already know the name from F4 last year. Here he is. So you finished in qualifying second, P2, in between 2 very top talented Carlin drivers. How are you feeling?
I would say I'm pretty pleased with this, you know, considering it's the first qualifying of the season. You know, starting on the front row was never a bad thing. Of course, I would have wanted to be one, 2 times quicker to be on pole, but, you know, it is what it is. I think the first race now in a few hours, so hopefully we can fight from there, see how the weather turns out. But, yeah, good position, good starting point.
And you're not a stranger to British Formula 3. You did have a race last year in Spa in sweltering hot conditions as well. Very different to this weekend, where it's predicted to snow for the 2 races on Easter Monday as well. But yeah, I mean, you've also, of course, people who already know you from British F4. I suppose there's a direct comparison that you could make, having jumped in a Formula 3 car midpoint last year as well. How does this championship compare to the F4 cars that you've driven?
I mean, the cars are very different compared to the F3s compared to the F4, considering more or less every aspect of it. So both aerodynamic, tyres and brakes and engine. So it's a lot of new things to learn. And I think the weekend I did at Spa last year, my one-off there, was very, it was very quick. I had like 1 day of testing before going there, but it got my learning and just the experience off to a very good start. And then coming into this year, just sort of brought that into it with the qualifying and everything. So I think it helped me a bit, but all in all, it's a new year, and like you said, it was very hot that last year, and now it's very cold, expecting snow. So very different conditions, but all in all, it's just about driving as fast as you can.
And tell us more about Linus, for those who don't know, because not everybody would have watched last year's Formula 4 coverage, which was fantastic. But where do you come from originally? Are you living over here in the UK? And how did you get started in motorsport?
Yeah, so a bit of a funny thing that, actually, because most guys go into motorsport having their mum or dad or grandfather or whatever do some form of racing, but none of my family has had any previous experience with it, so it's more or less of an accident. Then I've always been interested in cars and toy cars, but then I got to try a go-kart when I was around 5-6, and then the small kid me thought it was the best thing ever, and then it just started to grow into, and we started racing in karting and then internationally, and then we took the step 2015 into car racing back in Sweden, won that championship in 2016 and went internationally then for British Formula 4 last year, and did an alright season internationally, and then this year I'm here in British Formula 3, so it's been a pretty quick walk from going from national championships now to international, so pretty happy with that, and yeah, hopefully we can do a good result this year, even though we're rookies in F3.
And what's the goal for you? Where do you see yourself in maybe 3 or 5 years' time?
Wow, that's a difficult question. I know where I want to be.
Depending on budget.
Yeah, considering all that, I think, like every driver here, the goal is Formula 1. But I don't just want to compete in Formula 1, I want to win multiple Formula 1 World Championships, so that's the main target. But then again, my aspiration is just to be able to drive cars for a living. So if that's Formula E or IndyCar or Formula 1 or some LMP car, it's I know that I'm going to enjoy myself whatever I drive.
Well, you've certainly started the 2018 season off to the right start, getting second in the first qualifying session. Linus, we will probably catch up with you after your first podium, whenever that is, if it's in the snow on Monday, perhaps.
Yeah, perhaps. Hopefully in a few hours, and hopefully a first win. Yeah, we'll fight for it at least and see where we end up.
Starting in third place for race number 1 and third place in qualifying, it was Nikolai Kierkegaard in Carlin, who have 4 drivers this season. Here he is chatting to me and telling us a bit about who he is. After the first qualifying session of 2018 in the BRDC British F3 Championship, I've caught up with Carlin driver Nikolai Kierkegaard, who hotly tipped to be a championship favourite. He's third on the grid going into race 1, though. Congratulations.
Yeah, I was quite pleased with that. Obviously, from testing being fastest on both Thursday and Friday, I had personally hoped for a bit more, but being third on the grid is always good, and you can always attack from there, so I'm quite pleased with it, with the qualifying.
So how does 2018 and the performance that you've got out of the car and the racing and how much you've developed as a driver compare to this time last year, perhaps?
Well, this time last year we were struggling to get into the top 10, so already there, yeah, we showed a lot of progress, me and the team, so I'm really pleased with the winter testing and how we turned out for the first race, so it's good.
And you in this team been in probably one of the best teams that are always usually up front and at the top, have more teammates than anybody else on the grid as well. Carlins have special dispensation to run 4 cars at most points this season, so you have more pressure on you in terms of top teammates than anybody else.
Yeah, I think obviously we have 4 drivers here, and I think that I take it as a positive more than a negative, because we share data, we learn from each other, and we push each other to do better. So I take it more as a positive than a pressure thing. Obviously, being with Carlin comes with pressure, and and yeah, you gotta be at the front almost all the time to do well.
Well, you are in the right place anyway. P3 for race 1. What can you do?
Yeah, hopefully I can get a win from there. It's definitely possible, and I think race pace would be good. So yeah, definitely aiming to go forward.
Fantastic stuff. Well done, and good luck in this weekend's Easter weekend, the long Easter weekend. So well done.
Cheers. Thank you.
Nikolai Kiergaard talking to me after the qualifying session, and yeah, he's in the Carlin team this year, one of 4 drivers. Carlin have special dispensation to race 4 drivers. Interesting to see, perhaps, if other teams might also have the same dispensation, maybe. We'll see later. Billy Monger, probably the person who's had the most media attention coming into round 1, qualified on outright pace in his first race back in the car. An amazing comeback. He qualified 5th place. Race 1 results, though, Connor, and it was a fantastic result from the man that we've literally just heard from, Linus Lundqvist. Fantastic.
Indeed, he managed to get through at the start. It was a very clean start on what was obviously a bit of a damp grid, and moved into the lead before even the first corner. From there, he pulled away, and it was fair to say that it was. I wouldn't say it was an easy win for Lundqvist, but he had to contend with the late half of the race with the closing Nikolai Kiergaard, but he did hold him off. It was a good result for the Swede, who obviously takes his first win in BRDC F3 in what's his first weekend since his one-off event at Spa last year.
Indeed, yes. The Novalak and Mahadik actually caused a safety car on lap 1. That was very unfortunate for the pole sitter, who we've just heard from. Other things that happened in the race, well, Jamie Chadwick was chasing down Jordan Kane, who's back this weekend only, just for a one-off race, replacing, provisionally anyway, Douglas Motorsport's Alexandra Mount. I can't say her name. How do you say it?
Alexandra Mountput.
Yeah. Who had a bit of an incident in the Spa pre-season test, so we wish her all the very best, and we wish her to actually see her racing in the UK. So that, as it stands at the moment, and at the time of recording this, is up for discussion. But we'll stay with motorsport.radio, and our expert team of journalists will bring you the latest on whether Jordan or Alexandra might be racing. But yeah, race 1, there was a huge fight for first place between Kiergaard and Lundqvist. But as we said, it was Linus who managed to hold off Nikolai. And here is Mr. Kiergaard again talking to me on the podium. Well done, congrats.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it was really good pace, and yeah, got a podium, which I'm really pleased with. Good points for the championship, and we showed once again that we have really good speed this season, like we've done Thursday, Friday, and now Saturday. So I'm looking forward to Monday and the 2 races there, see what we can do.
Starting at the back, almost at the back as well, with this brand new reverse grid format, which a lot of people are still getting their heads around. It should be interesting.
Definitely, especially around here, and we'll see how the weather is, but if it's going to be wet around here and the full reverse grid, it's definitely going to be good racing, I'm sure. But yeah, we'll see how it goes for the first time we try it, and then we can judge after that, I think.
Fantastic first race result. Well done.
Thank you. Thank you.
Second place on the podium in race number 1 in BRDC British F3. It was Nikolai Kiergaard. This is the man who actually won the race. It is Linus Lundqvist, and it is Linus, by the way, I checked. You've managed to convert a pretty good qualifying result, and here we are talking ahead of the snow on Monday after your first race win in British F3. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you very much. Couldn't really have asked for a better first race than this. You know, like I said, made a pretty good qualifying with P2, and then managed to get a good start and get ahead of Clement, and then I had Nikolai close on my tail throughout the race, but just tried to keep the cool with no mistakes and managed to get across the finish line first.
Well, yeah, it seemed like once the pole man vanished, and it did seem like a kind of just a two-horse race after that.
Yeah, to be honest, I didn't really have a good look at third place, so I just kept my close eye on Nikolai and just tried to keep focus on myself driving and not do any stupid mistakes and so on. But yeah, managed to keep it on track with pretty good pace, I would say, and had a good car even in qualifying, and now in the race just converted into a win. It feels amazing to give that back.
On to race 2 now on Easter Monday. It's a complete reverse grid race, and you're almost at the back of the grid. Thoughts?
Fun comes to mind. It's going to be an interesting one for sure. Like you say, we're on the bottom of the grid now, and like Nikolai proved as well this race, it is very difficult to overtake. So I think start going to be crucial, like it always is, and then just try to pick your way through. And we'll see about the weather as well. Like you mentioned, it's maybe a bit snowing as well on Monday, so it could be a very interesting race in that sense. So yeah, just try to keep it clean and do the best of it.
Fun is probably the right word to use, I suppose. Well done, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Linus chatting to us, understandably happy, I would say. But I think the impression I got on it anyway is that he was well aware of the media scrutiny. I've never seen such a scrum for British F3. No offence to BRDC, British F3 or MSV or any iteration of British F3, but this weekend kind of was all about Billy Munger, and he's done it. He got a podium on his first race back. P3, sensational. We'll hear from him in a moment, but your thoughts, Connor?
Oh, it was a great race. Absolutely enjoyed it. Munger himself obviously benefited massively from the first corner crash between Mahadic and Novalak, and it was from there, I think it was a pretty easy run. He did have to hold off Tom Gamble for the second half of the race, and so I give him congratulations for that, because obviously Tom coming in as the Ginetta Junior champion obviously has the pedigree behind him, but Billy obviously held off the pressure and took the flag in third behind the Breakaway 2 race winners.
Well, here he is chatting to us on a very loud podium, and Billy understandably quite in shock and quite emotional. You said it yourself on the podium. If you'd have thought a year ago this would happen, unbelievable. Not many more words, is there?
No, there really isn't. I mean, like I say, a year ago I was fighting for my life, and now I'm fighting for podiums a year later. Like I said earlier, the boys in blue at Carlin, without any of their help and support, I wouldn't be on the grid probably at all. So I've got to say a massive thanks to all they've done to get me on the grid, and then the car they've given me with the hard work we've put in behind the scenes. It's really transformed into a great result in the first race, and I'm still in shock. Sorry, I'm still in shock that that's just happened, but yeah, I'm just so proud of everyone's hard work that's gone into this, and I'm glad I could reward it with a podium, and hopefully there's many more to come.
To be honest, I mean, you could have finished anywhere on this race and everyone still would have been here cheering you and celebrating you. I'm sure you recognise that. Realistically though, I mean, how much of a serious prospect was this? I mean, obviously it was a couple of months in the making, looking at whether it maybe was possible, but how soon did it actually become a serious reality? Like, oh my God, I'm actually going to be back.
Racing's what I love, and as soon as I knew back a couple of months after my accident I wanted to get back in the car, it was serious for me at that point onwards. I mean, although I didn't get out of the car until January, and we've done the days in the car and on the sim to warrant getting a result like this, and I'm serious as motorsport as anyone else is, even after what's happened, and I've got to work harder than everyone else to get to where I am now, and I work harder when I'm out there as well. So I'm just determined to keep pushing and keep fighting for wins and podiums, and I'm just planning on doing my best, and that's all I can do.
You certainly haven't lost any of your racecraft as well. You kept Tom Gamble right behind you the whole race.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the first few laps I was a bit I got caught mirror watching, I think you could say, a bit, just because of the lack of race experience, but then I settled down into a rhythm and managed to get, like I say, get my head down and put in some good lap times to put me, I think, 4th on the grid for race 3. So we've got a promising starting position for race 3 as well. Obviously tomorrow's reverse grid, so anything can happen in that. But I just plan on doing my best and trying to pick up places. And I hope that this result really makes people sit back and think that I'm not just here to make up the numbers. I'm here to try and win races and get podiums. And overall, I want the title, and that's what I came here to do. A third's a good way to start the season off, but yeah, I know there's more to come from us.
You certainly proved everybody wrong in that you're not here to make up the numbers anyway, having that podium on outright pace and outright merit. Well done.
Thank you very much.
Billy Munger, fantastic, amazing, brilliant. And we were sort of sceptical before the season whether we actually were overhyping his comeback. We didn't want to put too much pressure on him, and we didn't want to overhype him, basically, just in case he didn't get the podium. But wow, yeah, he did it. First race back, and he got P3. So when will his... I'm already overhyping him. Where will his first win be? I don't even want to jinx that, so we'll just leave that as an open question. I think it's probably safe. I don't want to jinx it, sorry. But race 2 in BRDC British F3, and well, there was an unfortunate incident for Jordan Kane at the very start of the race in the race 2. An incident. Didn't exactly see what happened. You might have to watch that back on the TV coverage, but he ended up in the turn 1 barriers, and presumably that caused a significant amount of damage. The reasons why we'll get on to later. It was a very wet start, and from the chaos in turn 1 on race 2, Maldonado took the lead, Connor.
Indeed, Lester. Obviously, being the treacherous conditions it was out there, we didn't really know what to expect going into the first corner. And I've got to say, the surprise and the big event of the weekend, arguably, was Maldonado coming through from 6th on the grid all the way through to 1st before you even reached the first corner. Teammate Charpentier didn't really even know what sort of hit him. Maldonado, turn 1, straight in, and from there he just never gave up the lead. And you've got to say it's a great work from the young Venezuelan. He didn't only just have a great start, but from there he built on his lead, and in the second half he defended very well from Charpentier to cross the line and take his first single-seater win, not just his first F3 win, but his first single-seater win in his career.
Yeah, and absolutely amazing. As well, it made it kind of, personally anyway, from my own point of view, it made it even more richer, because I was the person, against all odds, everybody laughed at me, but I said Manuel would win a race in British F3 this year. And I'm sure, Connor, your snort of derision when he heard the news of my prediction. But yeah, basically, and I said to him on the podium as well that it felt like sometimes only me and him had ever kind of knew that this was coming. So well done. Congratulations, Manuel. Second place in race number 2 in BRDC British F3 went to Tristan Charpentier, another hard-fought second place. He was a bit disappointed to not get the win, but still second is pretty decent.
Well, Charpentier obviously knew it was a bit of a losing battle in race 1 anyway, and so knowing with this new grid system for race 2 in which all the drivers are swapped, providing they finish the race, he did start on pole, and we assumed, and I wrongly assumed, that he would just run off and take the race win. And in fairness, he did make a fairly good start, but obviously not a good enough start. He had the speed to keep up with Manuel, but he couldn't get past him, and ultimately that cost him the win. Second place will be good for Charpentier, and he'll be happy with the result, but I think he will be disappointed deep down to have lost to his teammate.
You deeply underestimated mighty Manuel Maldonado. Maybe that name won't catch on, but anyway. Tristan finishing second place. Jamie Chadwick on lap 3 made her way up to 3rd place in the first ever entirely reversed grid race in British F3. That was where she stayed as well. Another podium for Jamie Chadwick in British F3.
Indeed, those top 3 really just broke away and dominated for most of the race. It was really a case of who would finish behind them by the end. But yeah, Chadwick was amazing to get through from the start. She kept her cool. in quite wet and sodden conditions, and was one of the fastest drivers on track towards about the midpoint of the race. So it was a very good obviously result from her. She'll be happy to come away with these points, and I think that puts her quite nicely in the championship leaving this weekend, because obviously you do get the added points for overtaking the drivers, and having started in the midfield, she obviously gets a lot of bonus points for that.
Well, we talk about getting added points as though people listening already know that, but presuming that they don't, because it is a kind of a difficult change to the points and the regulations to get your head around initially. How Connor Jackson managed to do that with a wonderful article on motorsport.radio website, which you can check out as well if you still don't understand it. Well, basically, as long as you finish the race, the entire grid for race 2 is determined by the reverse finishing position from race 1. So if you finish last, then you're on pole, and that's exactly what happened for the start of race 2. And yeah, plus as well, if you make up places during race 2, you get additional points. It's 1 point per place that you make up if you overtake. So
from your starting position.
Yes, from your starting. So not necessarily overtake on track, but if, say, I don't know, every other car falls off the track or DNFs or whatever, and you end up winning the race from last place from race 2, you would get that. It requires a bit of explanation.
Well, me and some of the other journalists around, I know, are making spreadsheets, let's say, to figure out the point system for race 2. Hopefully we can get it perfected by about the 3rd round, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. What we do know is Maldonado did come away with the most points, as he made up 5 places, plus got the 20 points for a win, so he comes away with 25 points for his win in race 2.
Well, we have every faith in MSV and for trying something brand new. Well, MSVR, I should say, perhaps, for trying something new and experimenting. And I think overall, race 2, the reverse grid format, was a success. I think, understandably, some people, not us, of course, had reservations about whether it would work or whether it would be just too confusing. But I think overall it worked pretty well. It produced a Manuel win.
Indeed, Lester. I will say
that's not why it worked well, but that was just a happy coincidence.
In fairness, I was one of the ones that was a little sceptical about the new point system, and to an extent, I still am sceptical. I do fear that this race was only helped by the fact it was very wet conditions, and obviously these more slowed down conditions don't affect the aerodynamics as much. As a result, you are able to overtake in an F3 car an awful lot easier in the wet than you are in the dry,
especially at Alton Park.
Not especially at Alton Park, and obviously
it's notoriously difficult to overtake.
Yeah, well, exactly. Yeah, it's notoriously difficult to overtake here, which is why this is. I think it'll be an odd race. When we go to Rockingham, I don't think we'll see this many overtakes. But we did obviously have some people come through from the back of the grid to actually get good results. Novalak, who finished 4th, started last. So it has benefited people like him. I know he got, I think 21 points from the whole affair. So it will be interesting to see how this pans out throughout the year. I don't think it'll be as dramatic as this Alton race, but hopefully we can see it being a little more championship affecting, let's say.
Well, I guess we will wait and see what the other race 2s in the championship pan out like. I have personally every faith that it will work, of course, unlike Connor Jackson. So yeah, send your hate mail to him. This is Motorsport Radio. My name is Lester. We are currently in the middle of a BRDC British F3 first round review at Alton Park, at a very soggy and damp Alton Park. Let's go over to Dan Marr, find out what he's up to for British GT.
Round 2 of the 2018 British GT Championship got underway at a very soggy Alton Park. It was red flagged about 12 minutes into the session though, so I'm currently stood in one of the garages just taking a little bit of respite. So I'm not that brave. I'm not going to go out into the really cold and wet. Unfortunately, the drivers did sort of pound round for a handful of laps before the clerk of the course decided to red flag it. As you can see, not the best conditions to go motor racing in. Very difficult for these quite lightweight and very powerful cars. But in the meantime, to keep you warmed up, we caught up with Martin Plowman, yesterday of the Ultratech Nissan team to talk about his race and his year for 2018. Martin Plowman at Alton Park for the first round of the 2018 British GT Championship, and 9 different marks in GT4 this year. It was competitive in GT4 last year, but this year's only gone another step up.
Yeah, this is a very competitive year, so it's our second year with Nissan and my second full season, but the level of competition is so high this year, so we've really got to bring our A game.
And here at Ultratech Racing, the Nissan, you're a really seasoned professional racing driver. What sort of background have you got for our viewers who might not know?
Well, I've raced a lot in the States, so I raced IndyCar for a short while. I raced in LMP2 in the World Endurance Championship, and then various GT3 championships the last 2 years. So I've been around the block, as they say. But this is a great fun. This is like pure racing, and door to door, and I'm really enjoying it.
And the Nissan, one of the slightly older cars, but with developments you guys have been doing to the cars in recent years, been very competitive, especially up against the new Mercedes and the McLaren, which is a few seasons old, and a bit later on in the year a few Audis as well. How does that fare, especially with the balance of performance in GT4 compared to the rest of the field?
I think we're doing the best we can at the moment. The new Mercs and the Audis and the new cars coming in, they look very, very strong. But what we're doing, I think we're just optimizing the package that we have, whereas those cars, the teams may be a bit rusty with them, they haven't quite unlocked the full potential of the car. We're just doing the very best with the package that we have. We improved the car quite a bit over last year, but as you say, it still is an 8-year-old car with a modification to it. So in a straight fight, we still have to find a bit of speed, but this is a team sport, and I think that it's all about everybody chipping in and doing the best they can.
You mentioned it's a team sport. A different co-driver for you this year with Calvin Fletcher. What does he like to work with?
Oh, he's a pain in the butt. No, no, he's great. Yeah, he was in the sister car last year, and a really good friend, been my business partner. So, I'm loving working with him so far. He's very fast, and all being well, we should have a good year.
You mentioned business partner. What is that doing?
We started up a business called Velocity Track Days. It's a corporate entertainment business, so we take our clients and businesses out around the track and let them drive, or we drive them around. But it's a startup. It's only been going just under a year, but so far so good.
Well, you're looking competitive out on circuit so far, especially with the new Jaguars this year, which means 9 marks in GT4. Do you think that even next year it could be a GT4 only series?
Who knows? I mean, the way it's going, GT4 is really taking off. Financially, I mean, it's a great championship. It's a lot more affordable for a lot of the gentleman drivers or for young drivers to get sponsorship to race in the series. So GT3 is obviously very expensive, so I don't know what the future holds, but it looks very likely that GT4 will be the new Premier Class one day.
And just looking forward to the season, we've got loads of great tracks. Alton Park, which will probably be very soggy and cold on Monday. Typical weather, unfortunately. What other circuits are you looking forward to for both the car being competitive and you as a driver?
Any track. I think you can never really predict future performance on past results. A few times where I've gone to a track thinking that was my strong track, and it's been the opposite. And a track where I've struggled, it's been a really good race for me that year. So, but Silverstone's normally a good place for us. Spa, we struggled out last year a little bit, but with the new aero package, maybe that'll be our new strong track.
Martin Plowman sitting on the fence there. Well, thank you very much, and best of luck for the weekend.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Martin Plowman there, who was just giving us a quick chat, which is really good to catch up with him. And it's certainly a very interesting insight as to what goes on with that team, how it's evolved over the last couple of years. GT4 being very big this year. This is the latest team in Viticus Games racing with the wonderful Jaguar F-Type SVR GT4s. 2 of them for some ex-service people with very challenging circumstances for all of them, and very bravely coming motor racing, and great to see them coming out being rehabilitated into civilian life and getting the support they really need. So as we are currently still in the red flag situation in British GT, let's look at the race before. What happened in the 3rd round of the BRDC British Formula 3 Championship? Well, to catch up with you, here's Lester Forbes.
Thanks, Dad. We'll cross back over to him later on to find out if the second race in British GT actually got restarted. Big long red flag. Lots of rain. There was snow forecast, so I suppose rain is... Anyway, I don't know. But yes, I suppose while we're waiting for the race to be restarted, we will talk about the final third race in BRDC British F3. And wow, it was a brilliant... a brilliant final race of the weekend, and a brilliant new podium for two people. Kush Mayani. How are we saying it? Maini. I call him Mayani, but Kush anyway. Let's hear from him. He got third place on the podium. So his first British F3 weekend, and it's a debut podium on his debut weekend. Kush Mayani, well done.
Thank you so much. Yeah, obviously treacherous conditions, but I mean we got the best we could. We had some issues all week long, and I think we fought well, and we're still in the championship. A long way to go, and looking forward to rocking him. Hopefully the conditions are a bit better.
No, they won't be.
England, India's a bit better.
Let's all go race in India. Yeah, why not?
Hopefully, but the level here is really strong, to be fair. I love the racing. Enjoyed the first weekend. Hopefully some wins to come soon.
Exactly. I mean, it means a great start as well for potentially a championship bid. That must be ultimately what you're here for.
Yeah, definitely. We're still in the championship. A lot more rounds to go, and we're going to keep pushing to win it. That's always going to be the motivation.
We'll let you get out of the rain. Congratulations, and best of luck for round number 2 at Rockingham.
Thank you so much. Cheers.
Kush there, talking to me on the podium, getting his first British F3 third place. Will he manage to step up later in the season? Is he a bit underrated at the moment, Kush?
I think so. Like, pre-season, he was very quick in the tests. He dominated the Donington Media Day and remained quick throughout the following tests at Spa-Francorchamps and even earlier this weekend, actually, at Alton Park. He's been a good driver, in fairness, and to only come away this weekend with one podium, I think is a disappointment. I think he should have had more, but he did make mistakes in qualifying, and his race one did not go to plan, as it were. So hopefully he can learn from these mistakes and move forward going into the rest of the season. And hopefully I think he can even get some more race wins. Personally, I think he will be a good championship contender if he can get the car under him.
Well, we did hear from him just a moment ago on the podium. Before I tease you with the winner, in case you don't know, we will tell you that race 3 and the race 2 winner, Maldonado, started this race in the pit lane. Do we know why?
No, I don't know why, actually. No.
Okay. We suspect, anyway, it was some electrical gremlin, mechanical, technical, something that we don't know about, which forced him to start in pit lane. He did get going, though, and it was the Carlin driver, Sun, with a fantastic launch off the start, literally scything his way through the field, or a few cars anyway. And Sun, of which I can't quite pronounce his first name. There's a lot of new people here in the first round weekend. It's like everyone's first day back at school, and everyone doesn't know everyone else's name. Hi, I'm Lester. But yeah, Sun, anyway, one of the Carlin drivers for this year. Your thoughts about him in general?
Well, he's part of the Renault Sport Academy, and so he clearly has the backing behind him, let's say. He's coming to this year with minimal support. Well, so I should say lots of support, sorry. But he's obviously up against very talented competition, obviously with Kjærgaard and Monga and Novalak being his teammates at the Carlin team. I think he will struggle to make a name for himself with those guys around him, but he obviously does have a talented Carlin team to help him improve this year. I think some good points are definitely on the cards, and perhaps an odd podium I could see coming his way. But as much as he did make a good start in that race too, his finish wasn't where he would want, let's say.
Well, one man who did have a fantastic race in race number 3, but just narrowly missed the podium was Clement Novalak, the race 1 and pole sitter. He was scything his way through the field. I noted down that he passed Jamie Chadwick around the outside of turn 1 in the wet on lap number 2. I witnessed it. It was fantastic. Hopefully you get to see that on the actual TV programme coming shortly on. I think it's still on Channel 4. I think it's ITV4 on. Okay, there you go. ITV4 and also Motorsport TV. Yay! Yeah, Novalak also on lap 4. Attacking Billy Monger for the fight for P6. The lap later, he passed Billy Monger. Oh no, said everybody. Clement Novalak finishing 4th in that race, but I just wanted to note that because he had a brilliant 3rd race. But the man in 2nd place in race number 3, Tom Gamble. Brilliant, here he is. Tom Gamble, hello.
You're right.
So we're talking after a very wet race number 3. Talk us through it from your point of view.
No, I mean, we made a good first lap going up 2nd, and Nikolai had already got a bit of a gap in the lead, so it was then just a case of trying to push to catch up to him, and we did that at the start when there was no rain, and I was thinking, come on, we could have a win out of this, and got close to him, and then the rain started coming down heavy, which is a bit frustrating because it made vision so hard, trying to see my way around the track. It was literally just following the red light flashing in front of you. But no, it was a great way to end a good weekend. Great to start the 2018 campaign with a podium in the last race and some good all-round points for the weekend. So hopefully keep us up throughout the year, and we should be on for a good one.
Yeah, and you've been involved all throughout the weekend in some pretty decent battles on track as well. Tell us how you've enjoyed the overall weekend so far.
No, I mean, it's a bit different to what I'm used to. Come from Ginetta Juniors with you can rub wheels, you can rub with people basically. In these, you've got to be a bit more spatially aware and not go for some of the moves that you would normally go to because you're risking damage. But no, it's been a bit different to get used to. But no, it's been really good fun. Really enjoyed it, and the Fortec Motorsport have given me a great car. So yeah, just looking forward to the rest of the season now.
So what can we expect from Tom Gamble for the rest of the season then? What's going to happen?
I'm not too sure really. We'll have to see. I mean, hopefully we should get some tracks that I'm a bit stronger at maybe, and
like which ones in particular?
I don't know. I mean, at the media day at Donington we was really fast, but that's quite late on the year. But I mean, there's plenty more which we should be really strong at, and I think there's a lot more in me, especially obviously new to the car. A lot of people around me are second-year drivers and a lot in single-seaters, so it's really just getting into it, getting used to it, and just improving every time I go out in the car.
Okay, well, I guess we'll catch up with you after maybe more podiums or maybe even top step one day.
Hopefully.
Tom, well done. Congratulations.
Thank you. Cheers.
Tom Gamble in a fantastic fight for the win. It was a brilliant race all throughout the field, which Connor Jackson kept his eye on.
Indeed, it was a good result from Tom. He made a positive start as well from 3rd on the grid and kept out of trouble for most of the race. He quickly got himself up into 2nd and was chasing down the race winner for most of the race. Actually, I think by the end the winner that I won't reveal just yet, but I think he might have been calling for the checkered flag because Tom was certainly giving him more pressure than he would have liked, let's say.
Yeah, a la Alain Prost versus Ayrton Senna. It was getting very, very wet, I'll say that, and we will find out just how wet it actually got in just a moment when we cross back over to Dunmar for British GTs, race 1 winner. It was a first win in the first round of British GT in 2018. Nikolai Kiergaard, let's have a chat with him. Nikolai, well, you've finally done it. Congratulations.
Yeah, really happy about that. They had a great car throughout all the weekend, and it finally came off. So thank you to Carl and everyone else who helped me to finally get this first win. I'm really happy about it.
Talk us through the race from your point of view then.
Got off the line in first. Felt like I had a good pace. Obviously Tom Gamble were close, but never really close enough to make a move. So I kept it on the track, and it was difficult because it got more and more wet. So I had to judge braking points and stuff like that every lap. So yeah, really difficult race. But I'm pleased I got over the line first.
Well, it of course means it's a fantastic boost for your championship hopes as well.
Yes, I think I'm leading a championship going out of the first weekend. So I hopefully I'll be a strong challenger throughout the whole season. And you never know, maybe I'll win it. So.
Maybe you will. Maybe we're already talking to the future champion. Maybe. And if I've just jinxed it, we'll blame someone else. Well done anyway. Congratulations, Nikolai.
Thank you very much.
Fantastic first win, and a double podium as well for Nikolai Kjærgaard, making his move to Carlin for 2018. Last year he was racing, it's fair to say, midfield for most of it. But yeah, he's right up there challenging for the championship, and we will give you the championship standings. And yes, Connor, I want to get your thoughts on this. I mean, for a start, Novalak comes away at the end of this first weekend in 2018, not with as many points as perhaps a lot of people had expected, given his pre-season pace.
Well, Novalak arguably has proven himself to be one of the quickest guys out here this weekend. His run through the field in race 2, he effectively came straight through the field in race 3 as well. He's clearly one of the quickest guys out there. He's setting some of the quickest laps. He was on pole position after all. But as you say, that race 1 accident really affected him and has cut his points more than he would have liked. He should have come away with at least 1 podium. He's come away with effectively nothing. As a result, he's down in 8th in the overall championship with 40 points, and 8th is not representative of where he should be.
I'm sure he agrees as well with that. But yes, as you mentioned, Connor, Novalak in 8th in the championship at the time of recording. We have many spreadsheets on this, trying to work out the point standings. And yes, at the time of recording, we can report this is the case. Maldonado in 7th place right now with 46 points. Just behind Billy Monger as well, doing fantastic to get a debut podium in British F3 on his debut weekend back in any race since last year. You know the story anyway. Billy is right behind. I think they are on the same points, Billy and Jamie Chadwick, with 49 points.
Indeed, those two and the guy in front actually are all very close on points. The battle for 4th is very tight coming at the end of this round. And yeah, it'd be very interesting to see how they end up after Rockingham, because Monger is a little off the pace of the leaders at the minute. However, that can all change, and it's been a very strong weekend for him here. It'll be interesting to see if he can keep that pace up next time out.
Indeed, yes, and ahead of Chadwick in 4th place, it's Kushmani, and 3rd place in the championship, it's Tom Gamble with a brilliant 3rd race podium, and 2nd place at the time of recording it's Linus Lundqvist with 70 points, but way out in front, Nikolai Kjærgaard, your man.
Indeed, 88 points and 18 ahead of Lundqvist. In fairness, both of the Scandinavians have really dominated this weekend, and I'm very impressed with both of them. For the rest of the season, the Battle of the Scandinavians could easily be the headline story we're talking about. We'll see, Leicester. But yes, no, Kjærgaard's really come into his own. He's dominated testing for Thursday and Friday, and set himself up nicely for this weekend. The fact he's only come away with 1 win, he'll probably be a bit disappointed about, but a second in race 1 in which he hounded Lundqvist for the win, and a good number of points in race 2 when he did work his way up the order. It's been a strong weekend for the Danish driver, and after a couple seasons of not really being in the pace, not being sort of at the front, he's really focused on this year, and he's with a good team, he's got a good setup, and he's got good momentum, and he's arguably the best Carlin driver out there, and that's saying something when you're racing with a world karting champion and someone as high a pedigree as Billy Monger.
Exactly. Yeah, not much I can add to that, other than to tell you to tune in to motorsport.radio for the rest of the season. We will be following closely the story of the BRDC British Formula 3 Championship and Connor Jackson, and our team of journalists will be writing about them as well, with latest breaking news and opinion pieces and such. That's motorsport.radio. My name is Lester. This is Monday Motorsport on a Tuesday. And this is Motorsport Radio. Right, there was more action as well on track. Well, I say action. There wasn't. Let's cross back to Denmark and find out what happened, or didn't, in the second British GT race of the weekend.
Thank you, Lester, and you rejoin me now in the Barwell Motorsport Garage for the second round of the 2018 British GT Championship from Orton Park. And this car, well, just a little bit wet. This race was actually abandoned. We're yet to determine what will happen with this race, so we will give you some more information on motorsport.radio, so please make sure you're stay tuned onto our social media to find out what happens with this particular race. But the first round of the 2018 Championship, well, it was very close. This car got oh so close to taking victory. Phil Keane had a great start. John Minshaw even hotter from the start of the race. It was about 10-15 minutes or so of wet running behind the safety car before they were unleashed, and then once they were unleashed, it was already John Minshaw in the 33 making a lightning getaway, as he does, forcing his way up the inside very late going into Old Hall Bend of the number 11 car, the TF Sport car. Bit of contact, did have a half spin and got stuck on the inside of Old Hall Corner. They did get away eventually a bit further behind, but the assault continued as they came up to the pit stops. It was very close between the 75, which is the Flick Haig and Johnny Adam Aston Martin, the Optimum Aston Martin, and the number 33. Very close, side by side for quite a few laps. Unfortunately, before, I believe the number 34 car had some contact with this car on the right-hand side as they were going through a series of very long left and right-handers. Unfortunately, that meant Phil Keane had a puncture, some significant damage to one of the wheel rims, so that put them a little bit further back. They finished fourth, I believe, overall, so a great result to fight back for a good result. But it was the number 75, and Flick Hager did some sterling jobs. First, from taking pole position on Saturday to taking the win, the first win overall for a female in British GT history in the 26 years that the championship has been running, which is a really good result for them, and hopefully the start of something very strong. Johnny Adam knows the cars, knows the circuit. Flick, very quick herself, so we'll just wait and see what happens in the next few meetings. But that was round one of the championship. It was very wet, even wetter than this now for round number two, where we caught up with Andrew Howard just as the red flag had been called. Returning to the British GT Championship, first of all, just explain to us how you made the decision to come back to British GT after being away for a few years.
I think the key for me was that there's a new car coming out, new Aston coming out later in the year. We're hoping to be involved in one of the first ones to run that, so we really want to concentrate on that this year, and British really sort of allowed us to do that.
And Aston Martin really strengthened their involvement in the series of 2018, haven't they?
Yeah, I think if you go back over time from, you know, Johnny racing and then doing really well, I think the level of the championship has reached a point now where the pros, you look for the best pro you can. And I think it's proved with the other guys bringing in pros. But, you know, there are some very, very good guys here as well. Phil Keane, you know, a lot of these guys have done a fantastic job and shown today how well they drive.
And a bit of a surprise maybe for some who are familiar with you in the British GT Championship is you're not back with Johnny Adam but with Darren Turner. How did that deal come about for those who might not know?
Well, I've raced with Darren for the last 2 years. So I raced with him in 16, where we won European Championship. Raced last year, 17. And Darren and I just, you know, we get on. We like a glass of red wine together, and we just thought we'd have a crack.
Not quite the weather for it now, though, is it?
Well, I think it's a difficult decision for the organisers now as to what they do, but you know, the fact the cars are aquaplaning behind the safety car makes it very difficult.
Well, that's quite interesting. I know this morning's conditions were far from perfect, but do you personally think it's too dangerous for the cars to go out then?
Listen, if the race starts, and as a driver you do what you're told. This morning we only had 2 real spots of aquaplaning. I was out in warm-up, and you could judge where they were. I think from what Darren's saying is where we're struggling is keeping any heat in the tyres, and then we're hitting standing water. So you've got the combination of cold tyres, a lot more standing water. So we'll have to see what they do.
It's a very difficult decision, and I suppose coming back from Europe might have been a difficult decision for yourself as well, back to British GT, a series where we're so familiar to seeing you.
Yeah, well, it wasn't difficult to come back. It's very easy to come back. It's a fabulous championship. I love the competitiveness. Racing in Europe last year has been hard because there are only 5 cars in class. Doing Le Mans was stunning, absolutely fantastic. Coming back here and having 12 cars that can win a championship, I think it's absolutely fantastic. So, no, I love it. I love close racing.
And you mentioned a new car. Are you going to miss the old car a lot? And do you have any more details on the new car so far as a prospective buyer?
I was lucky enough to drive the new GTE at the end of last year. There's nothing on the GT3 yet, they're concentrating on the GTE quite rightly, but you don't ever worry about a car. When we left the DBRS9 to go to the new car, you say thank you very much and you move on to the new one. There's no emotion in it. You want the best possible car you can.
Well, that will certainly be very interesting to see later on, especially with the involvement in GT3.
Yeah, and I think the Aston Vantage has done a fabulous job. I mean, we ran it for the first time in 12. We're the only ones out there to start with, and I think it shows what a great car it was. The fact that it's still here, and was put on pole yesterday by the AM, which is absolutely fantastic. But everything needs to evolve, and when you look at the cars that are out there now, we need a level playing field, and I think the next car will give us that.
And GT4, I know you guys have had involvement with that in the past. Is that something you're looking to get back into? Because I've heard rumours again, a new GT4 car, potentially for next year or the year after for Aston. Is that something you look to bring back out?
Well, we raced here for the first time in 07 with what was called an N24 before it was GT4. And you think, that's, 11 years old now. So I can see a new one coming definitely, and which will fit with the new cars. For us, we really want to focus on GT3. There's SRO have got the World Championship, which looks very exciting. For me, I'd love to get to Bathurst and do some of the stuff. So we'll have to see. But the most important thing is, let's see what we can do in British.
It will be a very difficult result if you guys can go out there and get something good, but hopefully you can. Thank you, Andrew.
No problem at all. Thank you very much.
Andrew Howard there explaining a few very important things, such as the new cars for Aston Martin in the next few years, and of course the very horrendous conditions. I don't like to normally do this, but just look out the window over there, and in fact the open shutter, how wet it is. Well, that was how wet round 2 was. They got underway, they had about 10 minutes behind the safety car. Some of the drivers, including, as you heard there, Darren Turner, reporting of aquaplaning all over the circuit. They couldn't really predict what was happening or what was going on, and the race organisers deemed it too dangerous to continue on with the race, so they red flagged it. They all came back to the starting grid just to see what would happen, and then about 20 minutes later the race organisers annulled the race. The British GT race round 2 was abandoned along with the rest of the meeting, meaning we lost out on the Ginetta race, we lost out on the mini race, and for the Northern Saloon Car Championship we also lost out on the race for them, which is a real shame to see for everyone concerned. It's been a very difficult day, especially considering the late start we had this morning. And it's at this point I would actually like to say thank you to all of our marshals out there who worked valiantly over the course of many weekends of the year, giving up their time, normally for free, to come and make sure that our sport can run the best it can. And thank you to all of the medics as well, to making the meetings run as smoothly as they can. It's been very challenging here for round 1 of the 2018 British GT Championship. We move on to Rockingham in a few weeks' time for round 2, the first of the 2-hour endurance races, or it could even be a longer race or 2 races. We just don't know yet due to the annulment of this round of the championship, but the first place to find out what's going on is here on Motorsport Radio. So thank you very much for joining myself and Lester Forbes and all our fantastic guests on Monday Motorsport on a Tuesday here on Motorsport Radio. Thank you very much for tuning in, and until next time, it's goodbye from me.
This is Monday Motorsport with Lester Forbes on Motorsport Radio.